no matter how the economic or political atmosphere changes. Rich people keeps getting richer, and if you give me a few minutes of your day, I will show you how they do it and how you can piggyback their methods and make some money yourself. This information is not on any self-help get-rich book, and no self-improvement guru will teach you this, because for those people, one person who gets rich is one customer lost. Rather, the information I'm about to give you have been collected from an undercover recording of a recruiter at BlackRock, the largest asset management company in the world with an asset under management of $8.6 trillion. Mr. Varley, without knowing he was speaking to an undercover reporter, spilled the beans on how BlackRock, by extension, every wealthy asset management company or wealthy individual acquire and keep their wealth.
How do they run the world?
You acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make in acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, risk management is inherently in just about everything. And in the finance space, it's all about it's all about the money you make. You don't let it sit. You keep using it over and over, and
Reinvest.
And it exponential growth.
Don't let your money sit. This is the first lesson. However much money you made, you keep investing it, and since your money is working even when you're not, your net worth will grow exponentially. You might say, I already know that. All the get-rich books tell me to diversify. Yes, they tell you diversify, but the one thing they don't tell you is what to invest it in. This is where we get to the second part.
Do you have any thoughts on the Ukraine-Russia war?
Ukraine is good for business. You know that, right? We don't want the conflict to end. The Ukrainian economy is tied very largely to the wheat market, global wheat market. This is fantastic if you're trading. Volatility creates opportunity to make profit. I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. Price of wheat's gonna go mad up. So what are you gonna do if you're a trading firm? The moment that news hits, within a millisecond, you're gonna pump trades into whoever the wheat suppliers are, into their stocks. Within an hour or two, that stock goes up, and then you sell, and you just made, I don't know, however many mil.
BlackRock is the largest shareholder of Raytheon with 6.9%. It's also the third largest shareholder of Lockheed Martin with 6.8%. And in December 2022, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, meets with Ukrainian President Zelensky to sign an agreement on how BlackRock would help on reconstruction of Ukraine after the war is over. So BlackRock would make money in both phases of the Ukraine conflict. They're making money during wartime from their defense contracting companies like Raytheon, because when Congress passes a bill for Ukraine aid, they don't actually give them cash. The Defense Department gets the money and buys weapons from defense contractors and give the weapons to Ukraine. And you can be sure there will be another Ukraine aid package after the war is over, just like the Marshall Plan to rebuild Ukraine. This is where BlackRock's agreement with Ukraine steps in. They get that money from Congress to rebuild Ukraine's infrastructure. So in both phases of the war, BlackRock will be making money. So in order for you to take advantage of situations like this, you have to be plugged in. You have to know what problem will arise, and you have to give a solution to it. Or at the very least, you have to know who would give the solution and invest in them. But this is not an assurance you will make money. To make sure you will always make money, you have to make powerful friends first. And this is where we get to the next point.
Let me tell you, it's not through who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys run campaign financing. Yep, you can buy your candidate. First, there's the senators, and these guys are cheap. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. It doesn't matter who wins.
You're still right.
They're in my pocket at this point. I can give you $500K right now, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do what needs to be done? They're like, yeah, of course.
And
why not?
does everybody do that? Does BlackRock do that?
Yes, BlackRock had made a deal with Ukraine, but how does BlackRock make sure the reconstruction contract will be given to them by the U.S. government? This is the list of politicians BlackRock had donated to, and these donations are limited to $10,000 and have to be included in BlackRock's FEC report. But the large part of their donations is not to the politicians or their campaigns, but to the super PACs which support them. And thanks to a Supreme Court decision called Citizens United, their donations to the super PACs are not limited to $10,000. In fact, according to Citizens United, they don't have to disclose how much money they spent on super PACs or lobbying. and this is how they make every government action to favor them. Let me show you this in action.
And people wonder why I'm protesting and why I have had enough. They have not given us money and they have shut us down. We cannot survive. My staff cannot survive. Look at this. Tell me that this is dangerous, but right next to me as a slap in my face, that's safe. This is safe. 50 feet away. This is dangerous. Mayor Garcetti and Gavin Newsom is responsible for every single person that doesn't have unemployment, that does not have a job, and all the businesses that are going under.
This is why having friends in powerful places is important. The pandemic was the largest wealth transfer in U.S. history, making more billionaires than any time period, and what constitutes essential business was determined by the politicians. That's why Walmart was considered an essential business. While small businesses were shut down, even though there would be less people in the small convenience store or cafe than Walmart. Take the lady on the video. As an example, all she did was organize a protest while the mayor, Eric Garcetti, raised $42 million during 2020. So, when the pandemic hits, who do you think Mayor Garcetti would deem essential business? It's the people who give him hundreds of thousands of dollars, or the woman who organized a protest against him. So it's essential for you to make friends with powerful people if you want to make large sums of money. You don't have to give money to your congressman or buy a senator, but you should be nice to the mayor of your city or a city councilman or a zoning board member, especially if you run a small business. Like the lady in the video, it won't hurt to donate $1,000 or $2,000 to their campaigns and attend the occasional fundraising dinner. And in return, your business might be selected to provide lunch to your local public school or furniture to the city councilor's office or whatever. But when the opportunity comes to take advantage of, you will be there with open arms. This is if you have a small business. But what if you are just a wage earner making around $50,000 a year? Don't worry, I've got your back. And this is where we reach the last part.
Based on everything we know now, when they say to sell, does that mean we should buy?
And so, yeah. It's like, Jim Cramer? If you do exactly the opposite of what he's advising, you actually make money.
Huh?
Yeah. It's called the Inverse Cramer.
This will bring us to the last lesson and the most important for working class people. This is where you get at actual action points you could take. These business specialists working for these large media companies actually work for BlackRock. For example, take James Cramer. James worked for CNBC, which is owned by NBC Universal News Group, which is owned by Comcast, and BlackRock is the second largest shareholder of Comcast, owning 7.6% of the company. So you should realize when James Cramer talks, it actually is Vanguard and BlackRock talking. Rather, you should follow the lead of people who start from nothing and made millions without any marketable skills or knowledge. And these people are politicians, and they are the best people to simulate if you want to make some money. Congressmen and women made $174,000 per year, but most of them have become multimillionaires while in Congress. Take, for example, Nancy Pelosi, who I call the S&P 500 slayer, who beat the stock markets for years and now worth more than $100 million. Ask yourself, why would anyone who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars would want to work a job that pays $174,000? The government salary is not the payment is the information.
The people who trade and make money, they do this the moment the information is out. And that info is typically disseminated at private levels first before it hits the mainstream. If you want to invest smart, there's a tracker that tracks all politicians and where they have their stocks. Preemptively, if we think the stock price is going to tank, we're going to sell so that we sell it high, it tanks, and we buy back. And we didn't make, but we preserved a few mil.
So how could this help you? You might not have the insider information on what law about to pass or the budget allocation for any given year. But thanks to congressional stock trackers, you have a real-time stock trade of every congressman and congresswoman, including our pal Nancy Pelosi. Just visit the sites howstockswatcher.com or capitaltrades.com, or follow Nancy Pelosi's stock tracker on Twitter and just buy what they buy and sell what they sell. The best performing congressmen and congresswomen are Representative Patrick Phelan from Texas, Representative Debbie Schultz from Florida, Representative Susie Lee from Nevada, Representative David Joyce from Ohio, and many more. Just copy their trading, and in no time you could beat the S&P 500 too. If you find this video helpful, hit those like and subscribe buttons. And if you want to learn how civilian entrepreneurs are making money, check this video out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.